Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Van Life Unfiltered. This is another episode today where we're going to teach you more about van life, how to get started, and connect with people who know more about this than, maybe someone who's starting out. So today we are with Stolp, and he's with Sandy Vans. He's been building vans for a very long time, and I'm so excited to talk to him today and for you guys to learn more from his experience. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very good. So I would love if we could just start with how did you get started in all of this?
All right, I'll try to say it quick because it's kind of a long story. But basically, I grew up with like a tool in my crib. I'm from Illinois, so we just always work with our hands growing up. And I worked construction like since I was 12. And then after a couple of layoffs, I decided to join the military, and that put me in the advanced electronic computer field. So I had this construction background, an electric background, and then while I was doing all that stuff, I was also working on cars a lot. So I'm a big like hot rod guy. So I was like going into business school at San Diego State. I started kind of messing with vans because I also used to ride BMX kind of professionally. So I'd see like a lot of vans at the skate park parking lots, and I had this background. I'm like, I bet you I could build one. So I did while I was in business school. And then while I was ironing my suit one day, I kid you not, I just got like 3 emails, and it was from a YouTube video that I posted about the Radbulance. And all these people wanted me to build vans for them. And I was just like, screw the suit, screw the iron, like, let's light up the driveway and make it happen. So now here we are at my 3,500 square foot facility, Sandy Vans, and it's been a wild ride. So
Yeah, absolutely. So did you start out being a van lifer yourself, or did you just start out building vans right away?
I was always like kind of a hobbyist with the van life stuff. I've lived in my van for like weeks, even months at a time. Actually, when I got this shop, I lived in my van in the shop for quite some time. I would still be living in a van if it weren't for my wonderful wife, who I'm sure is tuning in. She took me off the streets in front of her apartment, and I moved in with her. So yeah, I have lived in vans, but I've never been like what people consider full time. It's just been like a month here, 6 months here, you know.
Yeah. So what inspired or what do you really love about van life that kind of gravitated you towards it?
So funny story. The guy that builds vans for a living has traveler's anxiety. So I have kind of a little bit of difficulty leaving my house all the time. And I found that with a van, with like all the comforts of home, like I feel very comfortable traveling in a vehicle versus airplanes and all the other things that aren't my own. So it's kind of like a Band-Aid for an anxiety problem I had that turned into an entire company.
That's incredible. That's so awesome that you kind of found this way to be able to work around that and be able to work with that. I find that living in my van really encourages me to travel more, even when I kind of when I work and live in a van for the first 2.5 years, I was working a 9 to 5 and just going. I was working at like an ice cream shop, and I was working manufacturing guitars, and it was like living in my van inspired me to get out more and to do more adventurous things. And I feel like that's a really big part of van life. That's super awesome. That I'm glad that worked for you as well.
Yeah, no, I'm very grateful for it. I actually have a van that I intend on moving into soon. It's a 93 Chevy. I'm going to show you a tattoo. It's right here, tattooed on my back. Um, and yeah, so I have that all built out. I'm going to be living in it for, I think, the summer as I travel back and forth between San Francisco and San Diego.
Yeah. Are you excited to move back into a van?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my van's not like this. It's more of a cheetah and red velvet infusion. But that's what I like, and I'm happy to build this stuff for people if they like that too.
Yeah. Is there anything that you are, nervous or thinking a lot about when you're moving back into a van that you've maybe been, not been doing for a while, or things that you're kind of thinking about that are going to change a lot that you're nervous about?
No, not really. I mean, because my current homestead, I have a lovely wife and 2 bunnies and 3 dogs. So I have, there's like a lot to do at home. So there's a lot less choring in a van. So it gives me the flexibility to really focus on work while I'm down here and build out. I'm on track to be building one of these out once a week by the end of this year.
Wow. Like to build out an entire van in a week?
Correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah, lots of yerba mates, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is some serious talent.
Thank
When
you.
you started van building, about how long did it take you to make like your first van?
So I don't know how this is possible, but my first year building vans, I built 10 vans in my driveway, and there was only 5 that were complete builds, but the other ones were like, adding like a fridge and a bed. Like there were jobs involved. And I still to this day have no idea how I did that much. I think it was because it was at my house. I had nothing better to do other than work all day. And it really gave me a good reputation in the build community, which is why I'm friends with most of the van builders, and especially in SoCal, I'm sure all over the place too.
Yeah, for sure. If you could go back and talk to yourself when you were building out those first few vans in your driveway, is there any advice you would give to yourself?
No, like I mean, I kind of just stayed the course. Like I never, I always knew that investing in myself would be like the best thing because I don't really have much quit in me. So yeah, I don't really have any advice. Just say keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, you'll have like a cool shop and a cool job. So
Yeah. As a professional van builder now who's building out these awesome, beautiful vans, what would you say to someone, maybe who is starting out as a beginner van builder and maybe has some like is a little bit nervous or has like some questions or just is, what's a common mistake people make when they're starting out building vans, something like that?
this is like kind of something that could apply to the whole build itself, and it's don't be afraid to rework it. Like if something isn't right, don't keep building. You'll see people putting stuff together, and they're like, like nobody's gonna see that, or like that seam doesn't line up, but it's not. But later, it will affect the way your doors hang on your cabinets or stuff like that. So a build can go a long way if there's focus from the start to the finish. And while you're in between, don't be afraid to tear it all apart and redo it, because a lot of times when you try to fix something that you could have fixed in the beginning, when you try to fix it later, it took more time to build over the mistake than to just fix it from the beginning. So that's
Yeah.
something I learned over a course of a few van builds, and it's something I apply every day.
Is there a mistake that you see beginner van builders make often or most often that you're seeing a mistake being made?
So given my electrical background, there's like a lot, like I'm not crazy, like I know systems will work if they're not like absolutely perfect and have fuses and breakers and relays. Like that's not what I nitpick on, but there is a lot of unsafe stuff that I see, like when you're using very incorrect size wiring for inverters and stuff of that nature. And truly, this comes from a place of concern. If you don't know how to do electrical, if you've never done electrical, do not put 300 amps of power inside your van, because it's insanely dangerous.
Mm. I find that a really big issue when it comes to electrical systems. People want to do that whole entire build by themselves and they don't know what they're doing. And for me, it was actually a kind of a pride of I wanted to do this whole van by myself, but I knew I know nothing about electrical and that I didn't feel like YouTube was enough for me to make sure I was being safe with it. So I just bought a Goal Zero, and I feel like there's no shame in that, in taking that route and then just plugging a few things in. And then afterwards, I had an electrician look over it just to be sure. And I feel like a big part of van builds and doing it DIY is people actually feel like they need to, do the entire thing themselves to be able to feel like that accomplishment. But you're allowed to get help every so often, and I feel like electrical is a big spot where people should be asking for help. When do you think is this a place where someone should be able to go DIY versus someone who should go for a professional or ask for help? Like, where do you think that line is when it's like questioning if they should go either way? What would you say to them?
If you're questioning it, then you should probably go the other way. If you're not 100% confident, like I can't sign off and tell people like, oh yeah, you'll figure it out. Like with woodwork, yeah, like there's safety equipment you could put on when you're cutting stuff with the table saw and all that. But electrical stuff is the stuff that can catch fire and things later down the road. And yeah, you can make a system work, but it could still be insanely dangerous. And I've seen a lot of that. I've had a lot of, before I got fully into Sandy Vans, I was doing a lot of like quick lane type stuff. Like people would bring me their previously converted van, and 9 times out of 10, I was like, hey, I have to redo your electrical system, because I would see copper terminals that are purple. which is a fire. So yeah, I strongly recommend, you know, the drop-in systems that are out there. Like the technology is getting so great that a lot of them are able to power a van. I don't work with any specifically, but I will be eventually, hopefully by the end of the year, offering a drop-in electrical system on my website done by me for vans specifically, and it will all be with Red Arc.
That's super awesome. That's actually kind of like what I did. I actually went through a company and I had they did the wire runs for the alternator and for the exterior charging and different things like that. The wires up to the solar panels, and all I had to do was just attach it to the fuse box, and that was very nice. Like, it was absolutely worth the money. So I think that's super awesome that you're going to provide that as someone who knows a lot about as an electrician, and people who know about it and make sure to be safe. I'm kind of going off of what you were saying about people bring you professional builds, find out they're not safe. What would you say to someone who has a professional build and now is, watching this and listening and saying, how do I know if mine is safe and done right?
I mean, it's pretty easy to take it to somebody and have them go through it. You know, there are a lot of electricians out there, but, 12 volt, like low voltage stuff is, more of like the boat area. So if you went to like an RV place or a boat place and just was like, hey, like, can you just take a look at this for me? Like, some of them might help you. Some of them might tell you to bug off, but just finding a professional near you isn't as difficult as hiring a professional to do it for you. So I recommend everybody has their electrical system checked by somebody that knows what they're doing, for sure. I mean, even if you sent a video to some builder, we're all like pretty nice people. Like, we're all very busy, but if you send me a video, I might get back to you in a month or two. But, it's good to just try to make sure it's safe, because a lot of electrical systems are right underneath the bed. So it's not the best place for it to be if it's dangerous.
Absolutely. I would love to go off of this and talk about your lighting that you guys do in your vans. Your lighting behind you right now is absolutely stunning and super cool that you guys did that. That is so unique, and I absolutely love that. I love if you guys could talk, or if you could talk about like what you guys are doing with lighting in your vans.
Yeah, so I came from doing really custom stuff with Stolp Solutions. A lot of people know me for like the ambulances I built with that company. I recently partnered with Sandy Vans, and they're allowing me to implement some wacky designs in there, but we already have the platform figured out. So it really gives me the ability to focus on the artistic aspect of the van. So I can make it very beautiful without worrying about where I'm going to put my diesel heater or where I'm going to put the fridge and stuff like that. So yeah, we're doing really cool stuff with diffused LEDs. We offer these on our website. I'm also coming out with a video on how to do an example of them. So this is actually one of the ones. This is for the under cabinet. I have like a gold accent light, and then this is all going to be warm white. I'll be installing this later today. But yeah, I think it's a really cool way to add a necessary function like lighting to your van, but also doing it in a really cool way that's like very pleasing. Because when you walk by a van with like a ceiling like this, people are like, whoa, if you want attention, I guess. But if you don't want attention, keep your doors closed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So talking about kind of how you do your aesthetics for your vans and how you love the creativity, how do you kind of start when you're starting a van build? For me, when I did my van build, I was like, I didn't think about what color it was going to be, how I was going to design any aesthetics. I was like, we just got to figure out how to put up a wall first. Like, like step by step for me. When you build a van, what kind of is the creative process like for you?
So usually there's some direction. A lot of the Sandy Vans, I started the aesthetic, and then like a customer jumped on board while I was building it, and then like kind of wanted certain color changes. But you got to just kind of stick to like the basic, color palette. You look at something, our walls are usually like a pretty neutral tone. Our ceilings are usually bamboo. So we already have kind of that platform to work with. And then, if the cabinet's this color, then I might match that cabinet color to the piping on the upholstery. And it's more of a feeling. It's like, kind of like, oh man, a little bit of black would really go well here. Or like, these cabinets are kind of blank. Like, I want to put some gold poles on them. It's kind of a hard process to nail down and describe something to a DIYer. but it's also something that is very easily tried. If you come up with something like, I know my ceiling is going to look like this, I know my wall is going to look like this, then you could kind of like play around with colors and figure out what you really want. Because that stuff is all preference. So for me to tell you how to design for you, it's a little difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So when people bring you a van idea that they want to have built, what is that kind of conversation like for someone who, let's say they're bringing you an idea for a van and you can talk about the creativity and the aspect of what it's going to look like. What kind of is that conversation like?
So I used to have the conversation when I was a custom builder with Stolp Solutions with, all right, whatever you want, let's do it. Learning that that's not the best way for business, because I would spend 6 months on those kind of builds, but I could give you bamboo steam rooms and a lot of silly things that I probably shouldn't have done. They all work, everything's great, but it just took a lot of time and it was very difficult to install. Now the conversation's more like, we are Sandy Vans. This is the layout we offer. This is what, based on my experience building 30 plus vans, this is what I think fits best in a 144 wheelbase. And you get to choose whatever color floor you want, your cabinetry, your upholstery, your countertop material, but then the rest is all figured out for you. So you don't have to worry about thinking of where to put things because we've already kind of taken that step out for you. And if you don't like our layout, that's completely fine. I'm friends with a ton of builders around here, and I'm more than happy to point people towards my friends for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a live with Jared Tachi a while ago. I remember you came into the live and he was like, "Oh my God, stop!" He was so excited that you came.
Jared and I are really good friends. He's toured a couple of my ambulances. Actually, this Thursday he drops Bamboo, which is that was a very, very nice vehicle that I'm really happy that we toured. And that one also has very crazy lighting and bamboo and like brass inlays. That's actually the one with the bamboo steam room inside of it.
That's so crazy. How does a steam room in a van work?
Well, I can't give away all my secrets, but so the user is, very competent in the regards that there's a lot of moisture in his van when he does that. So he knows to immediately turn on the exhaust fan while the steamer is going. The whole room is fully sealed with bamboo, or it's all bamboo, which bamboo is already very good with water. And then it has a nice poly finish, and then it's all siliconed up. There was a lot of sealing and painting and all of that to make that happen, but he is a professional athlete, so it was a necessary feature for his vehicle. So that was why I went through that process to do it, and he uses it a lot, so it's still working. I built that over a year ago, so he's very happy with it. But
That is super cool.
please don't ask me to do a bamboo steam room in your van. I don't think I'll ever do that again.
I understand. That makes a lot of sense. Is that one of your favorite features that you've ever put into a van, or what are some of the favorite features that you've kind of done that are unique to you and your Sandy Vans?
That's definitely the craziest thing that I've ever installed for sure. But yeah, the unique features now is like, in this van, I have like a golden mesh toe kick and, really, I do really cool things with the countertop and I try to, make it so you won't even see all the details, when you pick up the van initially, but like one day when you're like cleaning the floor or something, you like look and you're like, oh my God, like there's a piece of bamboo like perfectly tucked in this corner right here. So like I'm trying to make a van as free of imperfections as I possibly can, and I'm able to do that when I already have a set platform, a set design, and I'm really just focused on giving people the best possible product.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of going on the opposite of that aspect, do you have any like van build pet peeves or things that you really don't like in van builds, or things that, are your least favorite features?
This is gonna probably rub people a little bit wrong, but I do not like. I just told you I put a bamboo steam room in a van, but I don't like showers in vans. Just because I've worked on like a lot of older RVs and stuff, and the one area, no matter what, no matter how much they sealed it, how professional they were when they installed it, eventually water will get places it's not supposed to go if the person does not properly like check it, once a year for like all the caulking and recaulk it and all that stuff. So I think a wet bat or a wet closet in your van is eventually going to lead to issues if you are not on top of it. Whereas I'm a big fan of the outdoor showers, and I know people go into cold places, but I've been naked out of the back of one of these vans with just the curtain across and taking a shower out the back, which with the diesel heater going, there was enough heat that I was fine. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the outdoor shower. So yeah, that's really I don't even want to call it a pet peeve because if other people are doing it, I don't really care. It's just
Yeah.
as a builder, I don't personally like doing it. If I can talk you out of it, I'll try.
Kind of going off what you were saying a little bit in the middle there, you're talking about redoing caulking every once in a while. This is the thing that I've been thinking about in the last week. Do you think caulking around a van, for example, like on solar panels or where you put things in the roof, do you have to redo that caulking as well?
Yeah, I mean, so you always got to inspect your stuff, like especially the things on the roof. I mean, if you use the proper like Dicor self-leveling lap sealant on your roof and things like that, those do stand up quite well. You know, Mr. Dicor himself, the guys like that's on the can. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that stuff lasts a really long time, but it's always good, you know, especially after like a rough season like winter or a really hot summer or something. Just making sure you don't see any cracks up there. And if you do, you know, just put a little bit on there. Don't ignore it. And then as far as caulking goes, I don't caulk any of like my wood stuff. So I don't want people to think that you know, because there's some people that caulk all their seams and cracks. I don't do that kind of stuff. So
Is there anything else you think people should be checking for as like a regular kind of maintenance for the interior of their van or keeping up with to make sure that it's either, you know, clean or up to date or like things like that, like checking the caulk that you can think of?
I mean, you just got it. You got to understand that these things are. It's not a house. You know, a house is not under nearly the amount of stress as a van is. So you got to understand things are going to move. Things might loosen up. Things might break, and it's all because we are designing these things to be earthquake proof 24/7. So, you know, all the drawer slides, all that stuff. Like you got it. Like if you sense something's like a little off or it might be loose and you ignore it, like chances are it will cause more damage later. So just being on top of it, knowing that, making sure everything's solid. Because also as a builder, you know, like we offer a great warranty, but with that, you know, if you're not taking care of the vehicle, then we're less likely to want to help fix damaged things if we could tell that you don't care while it's getting damaged.
Yeah.
So I'll probably still fix it, but you know, try to just stay on top of it best you can.
Kind of going in a different direction. What kind of van actually did you build this van behind you in, and why do you choose to build on like the base van that you build in?
So this is a 2022 or 23, I'm not sure, Mercedes Sprinter, and most of the Sandy vans we have are 4x4. We also have one all-wheel drive in our inventory, but we choose to do the 144 Mercedes Sprinter because it is just, I think it's a good size. It fits in normal parking spaces. It is a Mercedes-Benz, so you know you get really good warranty. You get good service when you take it in if there's any recalls or anything. I've had experience with all of the cargo vans, and I've had some negative stuff as far as like mechanical issues with a Transit specifically. And, you know, I've worked on ProMasters, and it's not that those vans are bad. It's just I want my work to be in the best possible platform that it can be in. And that's why I choose the Mercedes Sprinter, because I truly feel like they are the best cargo van.
Absolutely. So kind of, you know, finishing up and wrapping up on a final note, is there any advice you would give to anyone listening who is starting van life? Just an overarching piece of advice.
Just don't be afraid to ask, you know, don't be afraid to like seek one of us out. You know, like I said, I try my best to keep up with the messages. So if you guys ask me a question, I'll do what I can to get back to you, but we're all pretty friendly. You know, we're all here to just be weird hippies living in vans. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask people for advice, especially if you see them doing cool stuff, and don't get mad if they don't respond, because, you know, we're busy building. So yeah, just advice, and don't be too proud while you're building. You know, don't be too proud to tear stuff up if it's not right. You know, like really focus on making something good for yourself, so then you can really be truly proud of it and not have something that you're like, this is okay. You'll make it with your heart. That's my biggest piece of advice.
Absolutely. So where can people find you? Where can they either find your website or your social media?
Okay, so if you follow Stolp_solutions on Instagram, I give you a pretty good laugh probably. If you want to follow my business, we are Sandy Vans. That's sandyvans.com. And then also we have our Instagram, which is Sandy Vans Official. So any of those pages, hit me up, and yeah, we'll try to get you sorted.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for, coming on and talking to us and sharing so much of your wisdom from all your years of van building. I really appreciate it and had a great time talking to you.
Thank you. I had a pleasure talking to you. I really am grateful for this experience and big supporter of Project Vanlife. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone who came on and joined the live stream and listened and actioned the comments. And I really appreciate you guys all hanging out, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.
Peace.